With the Skywalker saga at an end, let's look back at the film that ushered in this new era of Star Wars. The Force Awakens was a huge success, but widely criticised for retreading old ground. But without it, we probably wouldn't all be sitting here talking about Star Wars anyway, so does it matter? Before we begin, I'd just like to remind you to like and subscribe, and then we continue making awesome content. Okay, now back to the video. Movie remakes and reboots are a lot like the doctrine of the War Boys.
I live, I die, I live again!
A once profitable title or franchise cannot be allowed to simply fade into obscurity, and it must live forever in film Valhalla, especially if there's money to be made from it, and an audience who maybe wants to see it. To Frankenstein a story back onto our screens usually takes one of two forms: the remake or the reboot. The remake is a method as old as time, with the earliest recorded example being the Squaw Man in 1918, which was a remake of 1914's film of the same name. Often derided by le film élite as pointless, because why make something that already exists? There are some fantastic remakes, like 1983's Scarface, a remake of 1932's original, John Carpenter's remake of The Thing from Another World, and basically, anytime anyone makes a remake of 1937's A Star is Born. Reboots, on the other hand, come about when a franchise has fallen into a creative rut and needs to get the paddles.
Clear. More. Thank you.
The franchise might still be making money, but it's become a parody of itself. Batman and Bond are especially great examples of this, as each franchise was still very successful but nowhere near its heyday, and the movies were being critically panned. And if you look at the prequels, by the time they were finished, the future viability of Star Wars movies was very much in doubt. But not wanting to call time on the franchises, the studio simply wiped the slate clean, brought in some new talent, and started again. But what if neither of these options sounds appealing? Well, then it's time for what we like to call a reboot make, or a remake boot, or a reboot remake.
What?
A reboot make, as the name suggests, is both a reboot and a remake.
What?
And it's also a sequel.
Huh?
Okay, maybe reboot make doesn't quite cover it. It's more like a remix. It takes old stuff, adds new stuff, and creates something that is both new and familiar. Take 2016's Creed. It's a fantastic movie, and it's both a sequel and a reboot to the Rocky series, featuring a new young fighter going up against familiar odds. It tells a new story that hits the major Rocky plot points in a way that could by some be called a straight-up remake, while also being different enough to stand on its own and begin a new story. And if you've been paying attention, you'll probably see where I'm going with this. One of the loudest criticisms levelled at The Force Awakens was that it was just a rehash of A New Hope. And, well, yeah, a bit. There's a droid hiding important information, a legacy character as a wise mentor, a bar full of aliens, a young hero living on a desert planet, a super weapon, the daring prison escape of a beautiful rebel, planets destroyed, the legacy mentor murdered with a lightsaber in front of our young heroes, and the eventual destruction of the aforementioned super weapon. So yeah, it's a compelling argument. But The Force Awakens, like Creed or 2018's Halloween or Blade Runner 2049, is no lazy rehash. It's a remix. It took the familiar elements of A New Hope and gave us something new, opening up pathways for Star Wars to go somewhere bigger and bolder than where it had gone before. So the old legacy character? He's the dashing scoundrel, not the wise mentor. The black-suited villain? Well, now he's the son instead of the father. The princess is now a general. The guy rescuing the rebel while dressed like a stormtrooper? Well, now he's actually a stormtrooper. The young hero and powerful potential Jedi? She's a girl now. Which doesn't seem like a huge thing, but some people have yet to get over it. And what was the result? A smashing success, a box office record breaker, and an influx of new fans to Star Wars.
Oh, but it was too similar.
Shut up. Most of the pricks who cried foul because The Force Awakens was too similar to A New Hope and declared that Star Wars was dead also shit their diapers when The Last Jedi wasn't similar enough. And trace it back, they're still not over the prequels either. We get it. Nothing will ever compare to the three films spanning 1977 through 1983, and your insight on this is fresh and new and must be heard. But in the end, we wouldn't be here if The Force Awakens didn't do something, anything, to keep people interested in Star Wars. So if it did all the jobs it needed to do, and the world loved it, and you like it, even if it shares a lot of similarities with A New Hope, does it matter? Well, let's ask esteemed movie scholar Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Thanks, The Rock. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Does It Matter, a collaboration between Blue Bantha Milk Co. and AT Chat, where we dig into things fans obsess over, like plot holes, contradictions, and nitpicks, and ask, does it matter? If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to AT Chat. And if you disagree or there's something else you'd like us to talk about, let us know in the comments. And remember, the only thing that really matters is Star Wars. Everything else is just a distraction.